Okay, live. Not quite as catchy as Bammer Live, but it'll do. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good. I haven't talked to you in a long time. I actually got a
True.
fright when I looked back. I was like, I think I had Adler on like maybe 6 months ago, and then I looked and I was like, oh fuck, it was actually ages ago.
Yeah.
Um, it's crazy. So I think we was it after the 2020. You were on holidays or something. I think you were away or you stayed
Probably.
somewhere. Um, yeah, it was absolutely ages ago. So a lot has changed, a lot has stayed the same, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was so last year at the games, you finished fifth, which was a tie for your best finish, which was 2020, which was fifth.
Yeah.
Um, how do you view that 2020 season? Like, because I know some people write off the 2019 year as like, oh, that was a weird year, and like everyone was there and it was weird. And I'm sure people who actually went to the games that year and maybe only that year don't view it as a weird year. They think it was like that's the epitome of CrossFit, and I was there. Um, do you view 2020 as like an anomaly, or is it something like does it hold a special place for you, or how is that year compared to other years?
It's definitely a special year for me, 2020. But yeah, I mean, it's true. Like 19 was everybody was there, and 20 nobody was there. Like that's actually what happened. Like
Yeah.
truly. But I mean, we still got to have some sort of CrossFit Games in 2020, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm also very grateful to have been one of the five that went live.
Yeah.
And I think it did change probably the course of my career, my CrossFit career. Obviously, 2021 was not the results that I wanted, but if I compare like both fifth place, 2020 and 2022,
Two.
yeah, we're not at 23 yet. They're very different fifth place finishes. Honestly, very different weekends, but they're still both fifth places, and I'm happy with both those placements.
What do you mean? So you said that 2020 changed the course of your CrossFit career. What do you mean by that?
Um, like doing a top five at the games is not a small accomplishment.
Hmm.
It's a lot of hard work, and once you've tasted it, you want to do it again. It's and I think yeah. So I was top five at the games. I was so close yet so far from the podium. And then I was like, well, we got to shoot like for at least a top five, if not a top three. Like we got to go, and it changed how I thought about how I my thought process about competing at the games.
Hmm. Did it open? I assume it opened more opportunities and stuff as well, and made life easier outside of
Yeah,
competing.
yeah. Sponsorship started coming in. Um, like there's some associations done with a top five at the games. So and yes, like there's always going to be a question mark of that 2020 top five, but it was still fifth place in 2020 in that particular setup. That was a fifth place worldwide. So
But
still,
arguably, like, I know it was very different because there was only five of you. But I guess that the positive or the one of the major pros of that is the fact that, like, for a potential sponsor looking at you in that year would think this guy's going to be all over, like if there's a documentary or anything, because there's only five of them. So like he's going to get surely 1/10 of the screen time because there's only 10 people there.
mhm,
All the like social media stuff, all the interviews, they can only interview 10 people, they can only talk to 10 people. Like, so anyone who is looking at that 2020 year, surely looking at any one of the 10 of you would see like, all right, this is a no-brainer, because like for the next whatever until the open, it's going to be all about these 10, and like, oh,
mhm.
what a weird games that was and everything. So yeah, it was remarkable. Like, it was weird watching it, but it was also, um I'm sure you were the same actually doing it, but like watching it, it was like, oh, thank God this is on because like there was just
Mhm.
nothing. Like there was nothing to look
Yeah.
forward to or do or like talk about or anything. So when it was on, I'm sure you were the same when it was announced, where you were like, oh yes, I actually get to do something.
It was pretty well. I was lucky enough to travel in those moments, and only
Yeah,
like just traveling was, oh, you're traveling? Like it was no one was doing that at that moment, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to California. How? Like how you, well, I'm just gonna take the plane. Oh, but there's flights. I was like, yeah,
yeah,
we'll figure it out. But yeah, it was definitely a very unique experience. I'll
yeah.
remember for the rest of my life, that's for sure.
Um, fifth place at the most recent games. Then is
Yeah.
that like, do you feel like you kind of if there was if you feel some people maybe had a question mark over 2020, do you think last year was an exclamation mark? Then was it like a like a it answered any questions, it alleviated any doubts that you or anyone else might have had?
Yeah, like it for sure. Like especially after coming out of 2021, finished 13th, 12th or 13th,
Mm.
and that was not good. So yeah, question marks popped up in my mind, and then 2022, like the fifth place, and I held on tight to fourth for quite a bit. Um, I bombed one event like basically last like 38th on 40 guys, like so depended like it could have gone a little bit better, but it definitely could have gone worse. But I think that fifth place is like, okay, I can do it again, I can do fifth place again. And for me, this is every time you finish the games, it's like, what do you want next? What's the next um checkpoint you want to hit? And I think my next checkpoint is now trying to podium at the games, and
Mm.
I think it's truly doable, if I'm healthy, if I prepare well enough, and I mean everybody depends a little bit on the programming, but you just got to be as fit as you can.
How old are you, Jeff?
I'm 28.
28. So
Yeah,
you're just a baby.
yeah. Well,
It's all about
last year,
perspective. You're going to say I'm getting old. It's all about perspective and where you are.
yeah, true. So last year at the games, I think the average age on the men's side was like 27 to 28. I was bang on the average age. And
Yeah,
this year, I'm going to be over for sure. Like, there's all those 23-year-olds coming up. I'm like, oh no,
yeah.
I'm getting old. I'm not as old as some other of my fellow Canadian competitors, but I'm getting there.
Yeah. Um, you you mentioned there that the podium feels like it's like that it's a doable goal this year. It, the kind of narrative, I guess, like CrossFit and media and stuff always spins a narrative after every games for the next season. There's always like a story that keeps cropping up, and I think maybe say in the sport last year leading up to the games, the big story was like on the team side you had Rich and Annie going head to head and like two legends of the game or whatever, and then on the women's side you had Mal coming up and you had Tia there, and then on the men's side you had Ricky coming back and you had like there was that
Mm,
whole storyline there. And then I guess since the games up until well he fell off his bike like 2 weeks ago or whatever, the narrative has been, can Roman or Ricky stop Justin? Like that's
mhm,
been the story. And when you're sitting, as you mentioned, you were in fourth. You were like, I think you finished like 20-ish points off fourth, and maybe 100 points off third.
yeah.
And like when you hear that narrative or see that narrative like spinning throughout the season, is that like, do you pay attention to that? Is it fuel? Is it like lighting the fire a bit brighter, or do you just kind of block it out?
No, so I mean, what happened to Ricky is really unfortunate, and I think there's always a question mark when someone's not competing that year. Like when Matt decided to retire, the next year was like, oh, but what if Matt was there? And
Mm,
now, oh, but what if Ricky was there? And there's always that question mark, but we have to take it year after year. Just like 2020, some people put a question mark on it, but that year in that particular setup, this is what happened.
mm,
This person was the fittest. This was the second and the third. Like so we have to take it that way. Now, last year, the podium, like the top three, were pretty much fighting by themselves. And even on fourth, like there was, like you said, like almost 100 points between third and fourth. Hopefully that doesn't happen this year.
mm.
It would be much more fun for everyone to have like the leaderboard shuffle a little bit more. Um, And you know what? I have that feeling that we're gonna see some names that we haven't seen at the top of the leaderboard yet. Um, but I guess semis will give a good indication of what's gonna go on like for the games. But so far, like I feel some of the young dudes are looking pretty fit, and hopefully they'll shuffle the leaderboard a little bit more than we think.
Who have you got anyone specific in mind, or is it getting too much
There's
of the competition if you name people?
I don't want to name anyone, but I mean, social media has a way of showing you like the best of everybody, and like you look at social media, like, ooh, this guy looks really fit. I mean, they all are, but how fit are they? Like that's the question. And
Hmm.
I guess semis will like give a good answer of it, and then it's gonna give an indication for the games. But even then, like you could have someone not win semifinals and go on to win the games. We saw that in the previous years, so
Hmm.
it's an indication, but it's still not set in stone.
All that kind of stuff was announced, I guess, in the off season, where there was this like, I guess people kind of thought there was change coming. Like people, there was a lot of talk about like, oh, what are they going to do now? Like they're definitely like, apparently they're going to change everything, and how are they going to change it? And
Mm,
there was talk of like, oh, it's going back to regionals, and no, it's going back to, kind of sanctionals or whatever. Like I guess this is probably as close to regionals as you can get without actually calling it regionals, but it's basically
yeah.
regionals. We're basically 2018 regionals again. And when all that stuff happened, I mean, you talked about and all that kind of stuff, are you like ignoring all of that? Are you like, I just need to get fit for whatever still going to come, so I just need to focus on that? Or are you like, is it ever distracting? Is it ever frustrating, like not knowing what's coming or what's happening?
No, no, it's not really distracting. I mean, the goal is just to qualify for the games. Here in the East, we're pretty well, we're lucky. We have a very deep field, but we also have a little bit more spots. So top 12 on 60, I think that's doable. But I mean, the goal is always to do now. My goal is always to do a podium, a top three wherever I go. So if that's what I'm aiming for, that's what I'm training for. And it doesn't matter if they tell me, oh, well, you're doing against 30 here in Montreal or against 60 in Florida. It doesn't matter. The goal is to, first of all, qualify, but then hopefully get in the top three in that leaderboard.
Mm. You mentioned social media there, and how you tend to see people's best. Uh, are you cognizant of what you post? Like, are you like, do you do that? Are you like, oh, that was a fucking big lift, I'm gonna put that up and freak some people out? Or do you deliberately not post a lot? Because you're not like incredibly active on it. You're not very quiet, but you're not incredibly active either. You don't really tip your
No,
hand too much.
no, not too much. I don't think it's because I try to not show people. It's just I'm not a big social media guy. I do my best to share what I do and my journey, um, but it's not like natural for me to do it.
Hmm.
And for the big lifts and stuff, like I don't even remember when the last time I did a big lift, like because it's not something that I do much. Like we work with lighter loads and like we do weightlifting and powerlifting and whatever, but it's never like, oh, I PR'd by like 10 pounds this lift. Like this is not what I'm doing right now. I'm not trying to PR anything weight wise. I'm trying to PR my handstand hold and my running. So, and that's not stuff that really is present on social media. You don't see that
Yeah.
that stuff a lot.
When was the last time you PR'd a lift, or was it in a competition, or was it in training?
The last time I PR'd a lift, well, my snatch is now well overdue. I think my PR is dating from like 2019,
Okay.
and my clean and jerk probably around that period. I PR'd my clean and jerk in Dubai,
Yeah.
and I
There
haven't
probably
been in
gets a certain
Dubai in a
point with, say,
while.
with someone like you, where it's just like, that'll do. Like, I don't need to go up. There's a certain line that it's like there's
Yeah,
literally no point going beyond there.
yeah. If you can clean and jerk 365 and snatch like 275 to 285, you're good. And I mean, I'm not training to win those events
Yeah.
because first there's only one on 12. So points wise, getting that win and getting 40th on a running workout is really not worth it.
Mm.
So in the past like few years, we've been trying to just bring the baseline equal everywhere and raise the line as high as we can. So gymnastics, CrossFit workouts, engine workouts, like bringing that to very, very high level and just trying to keep my lifts where they are. Like I'm not
Mm.
trying to PR anything. And so far, so good. Like everything's keeping up. I haven't lost anything, but I haven't gained either. I think just because I don't have to. Um, but yeah, for sure, like leading up to semis, I'll do some heavy stuff a few weeks before. Also, it makes me feel good. Lifting heavy makes me feel, I like it. It builds the confidence. Like when
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I hit like this heavy lift, it felt great, it felt crisp, and then you feel like ready. So these are the kind of things I'm going to do maybe prior to competitions just to boost my confidence a little bit. But training heavy lifts, not so much.
Yeah, I think we're kind of due a snatch, I think, at semi-finals. Maybe like a snatch
Yeah,
complex or something, maybe.
I'm seeing that complex coming. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. A little bit
Um,
something like last year, like the three cleans, two squats, one jerk, something like that, but with the
yeah, like
snatch.
a snatch, hang snatch, two overhead squats or something. That would be good.
Yeah,
Something. So you want that moment where it's like, oh, like that. Like, is he going to hold on to it? Is there's a wobble, and you want the
yeah.
crowd kind of getting involved and stuff? Yeah. Um, Alyssa says you must have a good coach. I want to talk about your coach. Um, so the last time you were on, am I right in saying you were doing a lot of like .com stuff and like kind of old
Yeah,
fashioned like CrossFit? Are you still doing that?
yeah.
How like okay, so you train 6 days, 5 days,
I train 3 days on, 1 day off.
so like real classic. Okay,
I've been doing that since I started training seriously. So I've been doing 3-1 since 2016.
well, that's cool. And of a percentage, like how much of that is literally going to CrossFit.com and like how much? What's the percentage? Would you say?
On the total of programming, not much because I do a lot of stuff. But I don't do 100% of the dot coms. For example, like if dot com programs 5-3-3-1-1-1 deadlift, well, I most likely won't do that
Yeah, yeah.
because there's no use for me to do that. I'll probably like have some other deadlifts incorporated in a workout, something a little bit heavier, but doing like those super high um like weight wise, I won't do them. Sometimes I will just for fun, but usually I don't do those. There's some of the workouts I sometimes I just have to pick and choose like where I want to like put my time,
Mm.
what I want to put my time on. So the .com sometimes I don't do them, but yeah, I still do probably around 85 to 90% of them.
Wow. Um, and if you see something, so like, I guess a lot of athletes, the coach kind of takes the burden of programming completely away and says like, you're going to do this, and then you're going to like, there's no, um, there's not a huge amount of sharing in the actual process of programming it. How involved are you in your own programming? Do you hand that totally over? Or are you like, no, I'm not doing that?
It depends. It's we talk about programming. Like usually Carol programs. She doesn't program very much in advance, but maybe like a week in advance, not more, because she doesn't know like in a week's time if I'm going to be overly sore somewhere or hurt or whatever. Is it going to be hot, raining,
Mm,
whatever? Like we don't know. So she doesn't program super far in advance, and she tries to program so that we keep progressing. So if you lay out a month of programming, but then you end up like super upper body sore, pulling's gone, and you keep pulling, then injury comes, and then you're like you can't work out anymore. That's not
mm,
good. Um, but usually I look so because I'm on a 3 on my rest day, I'll look at the next 3 days. I'll go through and then, oh, this workout, what do you want me to do? You want to go balls out or should I just sandbag it? This one, what do I do? What do you expect from this workout or why this movement? This sucks. I don't want to do it. Like this is pretty much what happens. And then sometimes she changes stuff. Um,
Sometimes
but
she tells you to shut up.
no, but it's like I mean, It's rare that she changes stuff because it doesn't make sense.
Mm.
Sometimes because she programs a lot, it's like she'll program like muscle ups 2 or 3 days in a row, and it's just because she hasn't seen it, and then I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
see it and tell her like, "Oh, we're doing muscle ups this week," and she's gonna be like, "Oh no, that's too much," and then we'll move some stuff around.
Mm.
And I think that's one very good point of having someone that programs for me so close is that I have some input. I can watch it, look at it, and it's very easy to modify, change, and know also why, like what this workout is for, why at this weight, what do you want, like what do you expect from this workout, and
Mm.
that's I think a good way to have programming, like programmers and athletes interact.
In a relationship together. Perfect.
True. Yeah.
Do you guys live together? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So is it hard? Like, is it ever hard to just switch off and just be like to sit down and watch TV or something and not be like, oh, next week is whatever, and then oh, it's X amount of days till semi. Like, is it ever hard to just switch off the CrossFit side?
Leading up to competitions, like I'm more stressed. She is more stressed. We also have the gym that she runs pretty much 100%. I don't do anything. Actually, I don't do anything. Um, so I mean, she works hard. She works long hours. But I try, even like for myself, when I'm done training, I like to be done training. Like there's enough CrossFit in our lives. If I want to come home and like enjoy a movie and have a barbecue, like we'll do that.
Mm.
We're pretty good at like putting stuff aside and like focusing on whatever we're doing in that moment. But like for sure, like leading up to semis, there's going to be a few weeks where stress levels are going to be high, and I mean we're 100% focused on performing, so our lives are going to be revolving around it. And at the games, like it's at least 6 to 8 weeks before the games, like it's 100% like focused on whatever how I feel, my recovery, training. So yeah, I mean, it's our lives, like it's our livelihood. It's what we do. So we do spend a lot of time talking about it, and we also own a gym, so it's very very much part of our lives.
Yeah, you're immersed. When you're training, then do you train alone?
No, yes and no. I have a training partner. That's with me. He's been training with me for years, not competitively, but he does a lot of my programming. Not all of it, but a lot, big part of it.
Mm.
But usually, yeah, I train pretty much by myself. I have to balance my training with the group classes at the gym, so
Okay.
I have to do it between. We don't have a lot of space for me while the classes are running, so I have to schedule my stuff a little bit around, but we make it work.
And does Carol, does she watch you train, or does she just leave you to it and then ask you afterwards, how is that?
It depends. Like sometimes like when I'm training at the gym, she's at home. She's either
Okay.
programming, running the gym, and then when I come back from the training session, oh, this workout, this happened, whatever, I didn't do well, or this I crushed
Mm.
it, or whatever. So yeah, we talk about it. We like debrief sometimes, but she doesn't watch me all the time. Otherwise, she wouldn't have a life. So, but sometimes she just comes to the gym. She's working and I'm training at the same time, so she can watch and see what's going on.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking of like I train at a like it couldn't be more of a different level. But I train and sometimes I train with my wife, as in like we train at the same time. And like we almost always argue when we're training. I think I just like I remember we went for a run about like 2 weeks ago, and we were like, oh, we'll run for like 15 minutes, turn around and come back, and then halfway through we were like, oh look, we'll keep going till 20 minutes and we'll turn around and come back. But like for the first 15 minutes, she was constantly making conversation, and like I cannot do that. Like I cannot respond. Like my answers are like yes, like one word responses. And it got to about like, the fifth attempt at making conversation. I was like, will you just stop? Like stop talking to me, please stop talking to me. I can't. I was like, I'll trip up or I'll puke. But like, I'm not going to be able to do the three things at once.
And
And like then we just ran in silence. And then when we finished running, I was like, I'm sorry, I told you to stop talking. Like every workout we do is like that, where I end up like saying like, stop doing that or start doing this or whatever. So I think if I miraculously somehow became an athlete, I don't think I could hack my wife coaching me to. I don't think she'd stick it either. She'd just get pissed off after a couple of days. So I think anytime I see an athlete coach relationship that close, I'm very I admire it a lot. I'm happily married. I'm not saying that
yeah,
like I'm unhappy, but I just think it's funny. Like I think you're never yourself more with anyone than your partner. And I know I've done open
yeah.
workouts and stuff where she'd be telling me, like someone else, a random person in the gym could be like, come on, keep moving. And I'd be like, yeah, keep moving. She'd be like, come on, keep moving. I'd be like, shut the fuck up. Like, I just like the fakeness drops. I'm just like, shut up. Like, do not tell me to keep moving.
Yeah, but so for us, it grew with the years. So I think as I got fitter, these interactions kind of disappeared. And I
Yeah.
remember, I still remember the workout. The workout was I think it was a 2018 workout. It was Diane and then Diane at 315, but with handstand walks.
Okay.
I vividly remember this workout. I think I did it like 5 times because I couldn't finish the workout in the time cap, and we blew up in that workout because she was trying to like encourage me,
Trying to help. Yeah.
help, and I was so at the limit of my ability, like my physical capabilities. Like it just didn't work. And I think like that's maybe the issue. Like when you're doing a workout and you're at like maximum intensity, there is just stuff that shuts off inside,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Filters just go away.
yeah, and there's voices that will not bother you, and there's voices that will. There's music that will bother you, and music that won't. You just have to learn what your partner wants and do that. Like I don't like being yelled at a in a workout. Like, oh, go faster, dude. Like, what do you think I'm doing?
It's like,
Like,
I know how this sport works.
and if I'm not going fast, there's maybe a reason. If I go faster, I might blow up in 5 minutes. Like so it's like just be there for me, and I'll do the workout. We'll game plan it before, and just try to keep me on my game plan. And if I'm off my game plan, you have to tell me, and
Hmm.
that's the only thing that matters to me. But some other people will just love being yelled at.
Yeah.
Well, these people just yell the hell out of these people, and they'll love it. They'll love their workout. So you just have to learn like what to do and when to do it.
Yeah, it's funny. I think you say like when you're at the edge of your physical capabilities, you see the issue I have is that happens after 2 burpees. So it's so quick. There's no like
More,
ramp up. It's just like I'm screwed. It's like
yeah,
everyone get away
and
from me.
that's what probably was happening in your run. Like if
Yeah.
she's just enjoying her little nice evening
She
run,
had broken through the wall. She was like a gazelle. I was like a
yeah.
hippo, like, oh, I can't do this. Like, shut up. Yeah. Are you the only athlete at your level that she programs for and coaches?
No, no. She programs for two other guys. Benoit Boulanger. He's
Okay.
a young Quebecer. He's 3 hours from us, and a masters athlete, Danny, who's in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Benoit, that's the first guy you said, isn't it?
Yep.
What's
Yep.
his surname?
Boulanger.
Is that a bakery? No.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yes and no. No.
Okay, right. Sounds like a bakery. So he when he was coming on, was there like a conversation around it? Because obviously that's like a competitor, like as in your field. So like when he's
Yeah.
coming on, is there a big conversation about that, or is it just like, yeah, that's fine, whatever?
I don't mind. Because how I think is whoever you are, I still want to beat you.
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter. Um, he's a lot younger than me, so he's probably gonna have a few more years. Like when I'm done, he's still gonna be there, and hopefully he gets to the games. Hopefully this year. Um, I'd be super happy for him.
mm.
The way he's progressed in the last like they've been working together for a year and a half, 2 years now. Um, so if they can qualify for the games, like that'd be awesome. I'd be really happy. But
Is he in East
as
as well? Yeah.
yeah, as long as he
So
doesn't beat
yeah,
me, we're
once not
good.
your spot. Yeah.
Yeah. But
um,
yeah, he's in the East, so he's got his work cut out for him. Well, we all have our work cut out, but
what so he's like no disrespect to him, but he's not at like your level yet. So what if she came home from work today or from the gym today and said, I'll just like I'm plucking a name out of thin air. Like say if she was like, oh, Lazar Jukic just messaged me and said he wants to swap from Mayhem, would you be like, fuck no? Or would you be like, yeah, that's fine, I don't care?
no, no, I don't care because if other athletes ask her to coach them, it's because they see value in it and they want to progress and be better and they think that she can do it.
Hmm.
The question I always ask her is, are you sure you want to get into that? Like, because it's a big gamble to start programming, especially for a CrossFit Games competitor that has been to the games. Let's say the guy that finished 15th last year. Well, the goal for her would be to bring him into the top 10.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work, and you need commitment. You need 100% commitment from both ends, like from the athlete and from the coach. And sometimes it doesn't match, and that's where some issues can happen. But yeah, I'd be down. I really don't mind. It's up to her. She decides who she wants to take on. But same thing, like as long as they don't beat me. But that's not her problem. It's mine.
Hmm.
I gotta push harder. That's my job.
Um, have you ever trained with Benoit? Like, have you ever trained in the same, like, to train
Oh yeah,
together?
yeah. He was here this weekend. We trained all weekend together. He's pretty fit. Like there's some workouts. He's pushing me, and I'm like, why are you so fast? And he's been progressing like quickly in the past like year, very very quickly, and I can see it. Like he's pretty fit. There's only the strength issue that is his setback, but um, depending on programming, there's a lot of chance he can qualify for the CrossFit Games.
Hmm. Um, Off season then, so Rogue went well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
well, podiuming at Rogue is surely like just that's like 6 months salary straight away. Just once you
Oh
step on the
yeah, yeah,
podium.
yeah. Sure, sure, sure. The podium at Rogue is definitely something I want to repeat again. Um, I think I could have gotten better than third,
Yeah.
but the weekend went really up and down for the full weekend. It was weird a bit.
Is like when you enter a competition like that, is that like do you see that as a level playing field say in comparison to other competitions, or do you feel that as maybe like slightly leaning towards you and like someone with your strengths, that someone that's like naturally not naturally, but someone who has built up a lot of strength and who is like a particularly strong athlete, that type of competition is like, okay, I need to enter that every year.
Uh, I don't think so because Justin won it twice.
Mm,
So if let's say someone would come in and someone else like a super strong guy would win it, then okay, yeah, that would be weird. But it's always the same people at the top.
mm,
I think those off-season competitions, what is different is that we're not all in the same place in our off season when that particular competition comes up. Um, for example, Ricky had a hard time at Rogue, but then went on to win, like win at Wadapalooza.
mm,
And I think it's maybe travel, maybe the off season he took more time off. He did more like I don't know engine and less gymnastics, whatever. Like we're not in different, and we're all in different places in our off season. Depending on also like I know that I just want to do Rogue in the off season, so I kind of prepare for it. But
mm,
and it's still pretty short after the games. Like you can take like a few weeks off, but then you gotta pick it back up because it's coming up like fast. So I think that's the main difference of the off season comps.
mm,
But for programming, I mean, Rogue so far has been pretty equal in all the aspects. They bring on like super fun stuff, different movements. Like we got the log, we got the muscle ups on the beam. Like these are things that if you want to do those type of things, then yes, Rogue is the place to do it. Um, and then like Dubai, I think Dubai has more of a reputation to be on the heavier side.
Hmm.
I haven't looked at the programming much this year, but uh, yeah, that's my thought on the off seasons.
Do you ever think that it will be worth your while? Like, is it the glory of like the games that it's the big show? Like, would it ever be worth your while to say like, fuck it, I'm not going to do the games this year. I'm going to do Rogue, like Wadapalooza, Dubai, and whatever, some other competition, big prize money, just aim to podium or win the four of them. Like, screw the games. It'll be more of a money earner to win the four of them than it would be to come third in Madison or whatever.
It's definitely something that someone could do, but then you have to win,
Yeah.
and that's the issue. Winning is hard. like even at
What?
Rogue, even at Rogue, when we only have a few months between, like it's still Justin that won back-to-back games in Rogue twice. So I mean, you have to be really, really, really fit to win those competitions. And like from Rogue to Dubai to Wadapalooza, there's even less time between
Hmm.
to get ready. So you'd have to like commit to only one. So might as well like do the games and then choose one in the off season. I think that's the better path.
Hmm.
But let's say like you for some reason I wouldn't qualify for the games, then yeah, I'd probably do all the off season events. Why not?
Yeah.
Like I've got nothing to lose, so that's probably what I would do.
That can be your retirement year. So after your last year at the games, you can just do like you can be like one of
Oof.
those journeymen, that just travels around and does all these
Oh la la.
appearances.
That'd be so hard on the body.
Yeah, and there's probably a reason you retired. If you're stepping away from the
Yeah.
games, you're not going to be like, now let's go win Rogue.
Uh,
So you said that you'd only do Rogue, but you turned up in full lumberjack attire in Miami then
yeah.
with Brent and Pat. How did that come about from your perspective? I think I've heard Pat on Talking Elite say like that he kind of muted this idea with Brent, and then you got involved. Like from your perspective, was it out of the blue, or were you kind of did you see it coming?
No, I wasn't planning on doing water pools at all. I wanted to have the longest off season possible after Rogue, and and then I almost did a team with GoWad, but then that fell through. And then Pat sent me a message. He's like, "Oh, you want a team at Waterloo?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, sure, I want to. That sounds fun." Three Canadians, and yeah, we had a ton of fun that weekend. I think we had enough fun that we're maybe gonna do it again.
Wow. Okay.
I'd be down to do it again. I don't know about the guys. I don't know their career plans, what's gonna happen, but yeah, if they're down, I'm going back teams.
That's cool. Um, uh, it was only Brent that did both, wasn't it?
Pat and Brent both
Oh,
did both.
jeez.
I
So,
was the only one that did only teams.
so are you like? Did you have to constantly remind yourself that you were fresh and they weren't, like in every workout?
So when on a few workouts they were going pretty hard, and I was like, but they're on their fourth day of competition. Like I can't slow down. I can't. I just can't. I have to go
Yeah,
faster. I did. I don't want to say pick up some slack, but I did some of the movements that like
doubled
they
up
would have
or
like for example the first workout, the pistol squats, their legs were trashed from the back squat, front squat, overhead squat, the first event of the individuals. So I was like, because I was planned to do the handstand push-ups, and then I told the guys, I'm like, I'll just do the pistols. If both your legs are fried, like I'll just do the pistols. But then because I did the pistols the next day, my legs were fried and theirs were fresh. So it's like we kind of exchanged like the movements that sucked the most.
yeah.
But we had a good synergy, like the three of us, and we, as athletes, pretty much complete each other in different ways. That made it work pretty nicely. So,
Oh
yeah,
my god.
that was fun, a lot of fun.
That might be the most romantic thing that's ever been said on the
Yeah,
podcast. That you,
ma-
Brent and Pat, complete you.
they do. They
um,
complete themselves, and then I come in, and it's like the perfect trio.
um, when you're with those guys, so like, is that the longest? Is that the longest time you've spent, say, in their company and like conversing with them consistently? You know, the way you might see them at like the athlete dinner, and then you might see them at like, you know, in the corral or whatever, but you're not really chatting and stuff, I guess. Is that the longest time you've spent like actually in their company and like conversing with them consistently?
Yeah, I mean, I do spend quite a bit of time with Pat, because I speak French, he speaks French, so in competition we usually chat pretty much. And I mean, Pat's a pretty he likes to chat, so it's he's also fun to be around. But Brent, I haven't competed a lot against Brent, and the times we did, we weren't in the same heats, so we
Okay.
always like were quite far apart. So with Brent, that was like my first like long period of time with him. But it went super well. Like the guys they're fun to be around. They're fun to like. We just had fun the full weekend. Even though
Mm,
like during the workouts we had the jitters. Like as soon as the workout was done, like it was just very friendly and fun.
that's cool. Um, do you think would it be you three then if there was ever what was the name of that? You know, the invitational, you know, the countries, like if Canada brought
Yeah,
up a team, would it be the three of you then?
maybe. I mean, wasn't it two guys, two girls, teams of four, or was it teams of six?
Oh, maybe it was
I,
teams of six and then teams of four.
I thought it was teams of four.
I mean, they get
If
more
it,
coverage if it was six. The sensible thing is to make it
yeah.
six. They get a
But
lot more coverage.
if the invitational does come back, it's something that I want to do. So there's two things I haven't done in my CrossFit career yet that I absolutely have to do before I stop. Um, um, Open announcement and invitational. If it ever comes back, CrossFit, if you're listening, I'm in.
You've
Like,
never done an open announcement, like
no, I
surely
haven't.
after winning
So
it.
they asked me. I remember they asked me to do 21.3, and at that time traveling was really complicated because
Okay.
we had to quarantine for 2 weeks. The vaccine was like starting and all that stuff, so I decided to not travel because it was just too complicated.
Hmm.
And I haven't been asked again yet, so I hope it does happen soon.
Yeah.
But that's something that I really, really want to do at least once. Um, and yeah, the invitational, that was cool to have like a few countries thrown down and teams, having the individuals. I think what Wadapalooza did, like doing the teams of 3 men and 3 women separated from the individual, kind of got that back, like that get the individuals together and make teams with them. That's what
Yeah.
happened at the invitational back. I think the last one was what, 2016 or 17?
17, I think. Yeah.
17.
Um,
Like that
you
was
know, it
pretty
would be
cool.
cool. And I think as well, it would give CrossFit that. I don't know if they actually are worried about this, but I feel like if I was CrossFit, I would be a bit worried about it. That like, oh shit, our Rogue and Wadapalooza and stuff taking over the off season. Maybe we need to have something in there, like our own thing somewhere to get some attention back on HQ rather than just these offshoots. You know, like, and that would be a good way if they did it in the off season somewhere. Okay, so invitational and open house. Well, Boz is coming on the show in a couple of weeks, so I'll tell him
Yeah.
that you need to do one of them. I'm sure he won't say no. He might say like, well, actually, he hurt my feelings because we asked and he said no. So
I
maybe it's
hope
like
not.
once bitten, twice shy. Like they're just like, let's never ask him again. We can't face that rejection. He turns down. Um, Speaking of Boz, obviously, like you won the Open, and I saw, was it in Morning Chalk Up, where you were kind of saying like that wasn't part of the plan, like to win the Open. I wasn't
Yeah.
really. That was a nice little boost. Um, would you be highly complimentary of the programming then of Boz's take on things, considering that it's been like, I guess, the most successful like 24 months of your CrossFit career probably have been winning the Open, coming fifth, third at Rogue, winning the Open. Like this is probably your golden period now. So are
Yeah.
you? Is that all like? Do you think that's like, don't give a shit, give me whatever programming you want, I'll do it, or are you like, well, Boz is actually working out pretty good for Adler?
No, I think I would fare well in different programmings. Boz definitely has his own style. Honestly, this year's Open, the workouts were very well balanced. I think it was a nice test. Like four scores for 3 weeks is kind of the perfect balance of period of time and scores. Because the 5 week Open was a bit long, especially if you're an affiliate owner. Like after that fourth week, you're pretty much tired of doing the Open. So 3 weeks is pretty good. Um, the quarterfinals, I felt like the tests were balanced as well. It was fine. Like, I mean, we're still like in our gyms, like confined in the space that we have in our gym. So they have to adapt the programming to whatever we can do in the gym. So it was pretty good. And then like we've seen at the games last year and now at quarters this year, Boz does have this gymnastics tendency a
Hmm.
little bit. Like he likes the gymnastics more. So I think every CrossFit athlete has been doing more this year, and that's for me is concerning because the gymnastics is I think the worst bit of my fitness. Um, but I've been doing a lot of it, so I hope I catched up a little bit. And I mean, you can prepare for some different movements, and I mean, whatever you prepare for will get you better in something else. And like, there's always ways to get better at something without doing it, but doing other stuff like the gymnastics. If you practice your balance standing, then upside down you'll be better. Like it's what happened for me this year. So yeah, I like what Boz has programmed so far. Nothing to complain about, and I actually can't wait to see the semifinal programming because last year we only had two workouts
Yeah.
programmed by Boz: the heavy lift and the rope climb shuttle run. Now they're programming the full semis. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what it's going to look like.
Hmm. Um, have you looked at the field, like the Eastern? Have you looked at the names on the list?
Uh, yes and no. Um, I know like maybe 10 or 15 of the guys. I mean, I've been competing in the East for a long time. I think the only new guy in the East is Roman, because so that's pretty much it.
He's really east. He's way east,
Yeah,
and
he's
he's just
way
creeping in.
east.
Yeah.
So he just came into ours, which is I'm fine with. It doesn't really matter. I think he would have qualified either way. So might as well do it here. And not risk like visa stuff and
Hmm.
country entry. Like that'd be
You,
stupid to
you
miss.
say that you know that you weren't anticipating winning, that like you didn't feel particularly good at, say, CrossFit when the Open was on, and that winning it wasn't your intention and stuff. How do you handle the fact that semifinals is going to be a deep field and there's like 12 spots out of whatever, and there's some strong
Yeah,
people in there, and but then you obviously don't want to like peak, then like you want to also like, do you continue as you would and assume, okay, everything I need is there, like I'm good enough at 80% to beat enough people to finish inside the top 12, and if I finish 12th, I don't care once I'm in, and then
yeah.
worry about the extra 20% when it comes to July or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, semis is kind of stressful in its own way because you can't mess up. Like this
Mm,
is it's weird to say, but you can mess up at the games for some reason. Like it feels weird to say that's not what I want to do, but the games is like the end point. So there's nothing after. So you just got to hit it
mm,
hard as you can. But the semis, if you miss, you're out. Like you're going to watch the games on your couch. Like that's what no one wants that. So
mm,
I don't try to peak for semis, but I want to be freaking fit. Like I want to be ready because I don't want to miss that. I don't want to be 13th
yeah.
because I don't know. I missed a lift or I didn't handstand walk enough or whatever. Like whatever reason. Um, So I try to be ready for semis, as ready as I can. Um, and I think we're doing a good job with the programming so far with this year. Like we've been like progressing very nice and steady. Hopefully at semis is like around that period of time is where games prep starts. And as soon as semis are done, then we're gonna do like some outdoor sessions, track sessions, turf sessions, a lot more because that's what's gonna come up at the games. But before semis, we're not doing that a whole lot, just because we're getting ready for something that's going to be inside. So, uh,
Were
yeah,
you
that's
asked? Do you remember? Were you asked last year at semifinals for your swimwear size?
nice. Did we? I think so. Maybe.
Okay, because they were asked. You were asked this year, weren't you?
I don't remember.
Yeah. So,
And
well,
it doesn't.
someone messaged me and said we were asked for our swimwear size for semifinals, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And then someone else is like, "They always are." I was like, "Oh, that's
Yeah. Oh,
disappointing." That was a bit of
uh,
an anticlimax.
doesn't matter to me. I've been swimming. I've never stopped swimming, even in the off season. So it really doesn't matter if they make us swim. I would be really surprised to have swimming in the semis because I know that when you have a space, first of all, you need the pool in
Yeah.
every semifinal,
Yeah.
and it costs a lot of money to have the pool to like you need insurance for that. So I'd be really surprised that the games would program swimming at semifinals.
Hmm.
It could happen. I'm not saying I know it won't, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'd be
It,
really
it probably
surprised.
probably won't. Even just asking the fans, all right, guys, we're all going to leave this
Yeah,
arena and go to, and it has to have the same amount of seating capacity, or else people will be left
yeah,
outside or whatever.
that would suck.
Um, yeah, earlier on you said that when you go to a competition, you want a podium. Does that include semifinals?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
If you're in the top three at semifinals, like you're good to go for the games.
Yeah,
Like
you're
you're
untouchable.
not,
Yeah.
yeah, you not untouchable, but you're like as far away from the cut line as possible. Like that's the goal. Because it's way less stressful when you have some buffer between you and the line. But yeah, for sure, like podium at semifinals is the goal.
Okay. So you're with Tier now. You're with GoWad.
Yeah.
You're with Podium Rogue. Um, it's kind of like, are you enjoying how unstressful like that side of your life is, that you like that so much stuff is kind of taken care of now, where it's like you don't need to
Uh,
worry about, you don't actually,
it's the dream.
I know you want to podium, but you don't need to, like, you don't
Well,
financially need to podium, as in, like there's no like, oh fuck, how am I going to pay for what now? It's like, okay, I'm okay, like I'm a professional athlete, like this is what I need to train and compete and be my best.
yeah. I mean, I don't want it's how do I explain this well? It's having sponsors like what I'm living right now is the dream. Like
Hmm.
I would have never thought 3 years, 4 years ago that I would be in this position today. And I didn't chase the podiums because sponsors would come up. I chased the podiums because I chased the podium.
Hmm.
And it's still the same. I want to be the best. I want to chase the best. Like I want to beat this guy. Like this is, and it's not if I don't podium, I'm not going to make money. That's not the issue. It's like I want a podium because I want a podium, and all this stuff comes with, and that's what's fun about being sponsored is like they're sponsoring you to help you like get
Hmm.
these goals. And now what's fun is when you have like access to more funds, more equipment, more recovery stuff, then your performance goes up. And the more you
Hmm.
have them, like it's like that snowball effect. The more you have it, the better you're gonna be. And then and at this point, like every little percent of whatever you can get, like you just get it.
Hmm.
But when you don't have all these people helping you, then it's a bit more difficult. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm super
But
grateful to have all these sponsors with me. And I mean, it's also brands that I love. Like
hmm.
it's all like when Rogue called, I was like, oh, shit.
How do
I
you, like,
was,
how is that when, because obviously, like, okay, like GoWad's synonymous with the sport, like, game sponsor, semi-final sponsor, they've all the big athletes, like, uh you
but
know
so
tier of
GoWad is very special to me because they're the first sponsors to ever contact me, and I hadn't contacted them. They contacted me, and that was before the 2020 games. So they
Yeah.
have a very special place in my heart because they're the first ones that are like, oh, you look like you're going to be good. We're going to help you a bit. And they're a great team. Love working with them. Like these guys are awesome. So they have like that little special place in my heart. And then
Yeah.
of course, like Rogue is like like who thought? And they hadn't sponsored a Canadian athlete in I don't know how many years, and they just called me. I was like, oh, sweating everywhere, running all over the place. Like I can die a happy CrossFitter now.
um, does it add any like okay, you're saying that it's I'm trying to think what's the opposite of a vicious circle, like a happy square. I don't know where like
Yeah,
everything helps everything. It makes everything easier. Like you know you have better sponsors who themselves make this equipment that makes life easier, and then they obviously pay you, and then you're able to buy more things which makes life things easier or afford more things, and it takes stress away, and like everything's just kind of pushing you towards this like betterment. Is there also an element of like, oh, I'm with Podium, I better fucking Podium. I'm
uh,
with like I'm with Rogue, I better be strong at Rogue. Like, you know, is there any kind of added pressure?
maybe a little bit, but I don't think it's as much pressure as what I put on myself. Like
Yeah,
the the even before I got sponsors, it was like even when I was training at the gym and something just didn't go well, or I didn't perform, or I didn't push hard enough. It's like it's not because I had a sponsor to push me. It's I was like this was just not good, and it can't happen again. Like that's, and then I go back and push harder. Like that's how I do things, and I try to not think about that because if you put too much stress on yourself, like it's also not helpful.
hmm.
It's extra added stress. The goal of sponsors is to lower the stress, not get it higher. So yeah, I try to think like if something happens, then we'll see what happens with the sponsors. I'm not too concerned, but um, the pressure that I put on myself, I think, is greater than whatever the sponsors put on me.
I guess that's like, you know, you've also got Mike at Santara or whatever. That's kind of a
Yeah,
buffer as well. That kind of keeps it's like a wall that's like, no,
yeah,
no, not today. Like
yeah.
Jeff's in the middle of doing whatever. Um, with the changes this season, one of the changes that came up as well was the ranking and
Hmm.
the kind of global ranking and stuff. Is that like is that a byproduct of everything else you're doing, or are you anyway concerned with that? Are you like, because I know some people are saying like, oh, everyone should, even if you're not going to do semifinals, you should still register for quarterfinals because that's going to give your region an extra spot, or you know, like that there's all these different permutations and things might change. So instead of 12 next year, East might get 13, or they might get like 11 depending on what happens. Like, is that in like, are you and I wouldn't judge you for it at all, but are you like purely selfish when it comes to your season? Are you like, I don't give a shit about worldwide rankings or places or spots. I want to get to the games. I don't care who's coming after me.
I think that's pretty much how I think. I
Yeah.
don't really care about worldwide ranking, but we do need it. Like this
Yeah.
is how the sport works. So I mean, I'm going to register, but I'm not going to tell someone, "Oh, you should register because you're going to maybe give us one more spot." If you don't want to do it, just don't do it. Like
Yeah.
do it or don't. Like it's you decide. But I compete in this sport. I want to compete professionally. Then we need this worldwide ranking. And I think, well, I we're going to see at the end of this year, but so far it's doing pretty well. Like I think it looks professional. It looks good, and we'll see how it holds up. Like I have nothing against it.
I think
I'm
one of the
curious.
major issues is that like if you're from Africa or Asia, you're basically fucked. Like you've got that one spot
Basically,
and that's
yeah.
the spot you'll all like, best of luck ever changing anything to do with your spots because it's just
And
set in stone.
I don't want to sound like I don't care, but I mean, if there's only one spot that goes there, there's a reason why. And if
Yeah, yeah.
there's two, then there's two that come to the games, and then they come to the games and they get like trashed. Like that's not what we want. That we want to have as equal a playing field as we can. Um, and I think it's fair, and it's fair that it could also change. Like if there's an uprise in competitors in Africa, and the next year they get two spots, well, they get two, and it's two spots that they've earned, and that's fine. I'm
Mm.
fine with that.
I
But yeah,
think what
that's
if your sponsorship thing is a happy square, I think that is a bit of a vicious circle, the worldwide rankings thing. Where I think Europe and North America and West America will kind of swap back and forth
oh
over a
yeah,
few years of spots and stuff. But I think
probably.
Africa is like for at least 10 years they're stuck with
Yeah,
one spot. Even if like Medeiros moves to okay, well no, that probably would change things. But if a new Medeiros comes up in Africa, he basically it's him and then nobody else.
yeah,
But yeah, maybe that's probably a question for Boz to be fair. Um,
true.
so your aims then this year, so podium at semi-finals, games. The aim is to podium at the games.
Yeah.
Uh, are you? So I've kind of asked people this in the past, and the general answer I get is, well, once I'm satisfied with my performance and I don't have any regrets about my performance, then I don't. The leaderboard placing doesn't really matter. But if you finish like sixth, are you going to be pissed off compared to if you're going to Madison with the hope of podiuming or bettering fifth last year? If you don't do that, is it out of your control? And once you do your best, if other people are better, whatever, or will you be annoyed by that?
I mean, you partly answered the question. Is it depends why I'm
Yeah.
sixth. If it's because five other guys just beat me fair and square, I can't. I can be pissed all I want. It's my fault. Like I just have to be fitter. But if something happens, judge call, I'm sick, I'm injured, or whatever, or I get injured in the weekend or whatever, I can see myself being pissed a little bit more.
Hmm.
But then you have to be realist. I think I'm very realistic in that sense that like if you're fitter than me and if you beat me, then what am I going to do? Like I'm going to be pissed for 3 weeks. Like just put your head down and work harder. That's your job.
Hmm.
And then I'll be happy for these guys that are fitter than me, but it's going to probably fuel me pretty hard for the next year. To not get sixth again. I hope I can get a top five like 2 years in a row and not have that roller coaster
Yeah.
effect. But um, I mean, we're getting ready as best we can, and I mean, we can get to the games and feel great or not. Like it's there's a fine line between being ready, and feeling a bit crappy, especially at that time of year. So we're gonna try and game it pretty well and get there with the fire burning hot.
Have you got a favorite period of training? So, like, obviously, you've got the off season kind of, which is very different from
Yeah.
what you're doing now. And then you mentioned that after semifinals, you'll have like your games prep will start. Is there one of those that you look forward to? Like, is the games prep have a special place just because of what it is and what it's leading to, or is there a section that you like more?
I really don't like games training. So every time I see everybody, I like after semis, oh my god, it's games training season, the best time of year. I'm like, what? That's not the best time of year. That's the time of year you're digging a hole and you're lying in it. Like that's you're doing that for 2 straight months. Like I no, the games training is not my favorite, but I think this year my off-season training was really fun. I really enjoyed it. I felt really fit in ways I have never felt before, and it was a very valuable off-season. And if everything goes well, my next off-season will be just the same.
Is your off season this year, was that drastically different from other years, or was it like more or less the same?
Very, very different than last year.
And what was
Then
the differences?
The volume of different things were very different. Like I didn't do CrossFit workouts at all for at least a few months. Like I did some CrossFit workouts, but like very, very little. It was more like straight up engine, just gymnastics, just lifting. Like it was very like segmented.
Mm.
And I really enjoyed that because you can see like a good progression in one thing. And that's fun to see. And then we have to take all of that and translate it into CrossFit. And that's what we're doing right now. Like it's kind of translating. Um, and hopefully everything that I've gained in the off season will show in my fitness throughout this year's semi and games.
So was the open then? Was that your? Did you do some? Did you ramp it up before the open at all?
That first open workout, that first CrossFit workout, that hurt a
I was
lot.
gonna say it must have been awful.
That
Like an
was
awful
awful,
reintroduction.
awful. But after that, it was the running and burpee pull-ups. Dude, I was ready for that. Like that was
Yeah.
just cake. And what was the third workout? I mean, the thruster. The thruster was the one I was most scared of because the weightlifting part I haven't done much. Like it was more
Mm.
powerlifting stuff. So the weightlifting, I was like, ooh, I hadn't squat cleaned over 300 pounds in weeks. So
Mm.
that was pretty stressful. And then third workout, what was the third
The
workout?
rower and the wall balls.
That was the first one. What was the third one? I don't remember,
Was it the first one?
but I think it went well. The third one.
I thought the last one was the. Oh fuck! I can't remember.
No, the first one was the row toast to bar, row wall ball cleans toast to bar,
Oh, okay. I thought that was the last one. All right. Okay.
and then I can't remember the third one. It was probably bar muscle ups in it, but I'm not sure.
God, I'm having a total blank. I got
Oh, that
nothing.
was it was the wall facing handstand push up. It
Oh
was
yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
that was yeah,
Yeah. I scaled the fuck out of that. That's why I didn't remember.
yeah. So yeah,
um.
that was
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So yeah, that first one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
oh yeah,
That's
with the
pretty
power with the
gnarly.
it was the power snatches, the heavy power snatches, the heavy snatches.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. I did that. I did those wall walks outside in the dark against a
Ooh.
pebble dash wall. Um. That was awful. That was awful. Um. Listen, I'll let you go. There's Alyssa has the thank you. She's actually up. I'll let you go. But thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Maybe I'm biased. But I think this is the most relaxed, most like I don't know. I think it's the most Jeff I've seen you, like the most kind of relaxed, and like you just it seems like it's second nature to you to be sitting here. Like there was nothing wrong when we spoke the last time, but this time I kind of feel like wow, he's really seems to have like leaned into it, and compared to other times I've heard you speak, I think this is yeah, it was like a real pleasure to talk to you. I thought just you
Thank
got
you.
on, it just made it so easy. Congrats on your open win and best of luck in Orlando and in Madison, we assume and hope and everything. And I hope everything goes well.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No problem. My absolute pleasure.